Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. I grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This midweek episode we'll be looking at a few bits and bobs, going over both retail and classic. I don't know, I just want to jump right into this. My throat is feeling a little bit dry, so sorry if I'm not quite there with it today, but I'll try and push through for you guys. So, obviously, we'll start off with retail. So, there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out on retail, and some of them being the mentality. Now, I've obviously mentioned the mentality of people in Classic, and I think that it's only fair that I mention the mentality of people in retail, otherwise, people might get a little bit annoyed at it. So, the retail mentality is very much similar, but not to an extent. It's a similar sort of, oh, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, I give up kind of mentality, but it's for different things. Obviously, the leveling for Classic and retail has sort of Mythic Plus, PvP, that kind of thing for retail. So, this first forum that I want to tell you about is very short, okay? Very, very short. But I want to explain this mentality in any sort of game, and I want to go through it with you. So, the forum simply reads, I will leave any Mythic Plus that isn't timed. Fix your reward system and the dungeon tuning, and perhaps I'll stop doing it. Thanks. Okay, so this guy is part of the problem. He is a massive problem. So, in recent times, a lot of people who obviously have been doing mythics have probably realised this. I don't see it a lot, but people are leaving Mythic Plus a lot after the first wipe, after the halfway through the dungeon, because they know that they're not going to time the dungeon. This is pathetic, okay? This mentality needs to stop. People have signed up to play the game, and people can get better by playing these dungeons. I get that it's frustrating. I get that you want to time the dungeon. I get all of that. But at the same time, you are ruining the experience for the other 4 people. Now, you leaving because, oh, the reward system's awful, the, gearing or whatever, you still get pieces of gear in the chest at the end. You just don't get an extra one or whatever. So you can still get a piece of gear and you'll still get a key, but it's just a bit like, oh, we messed up here, this is what we should have done better. Instead, you're throwing your toys out the pram and being like, this is ridiculous, this is an awful system, Blizzard fix it kind of deal. And it's like, well, what are you talking about? You're talking absolute nonsense, aren't you? It's absolutely pathetic. And this sort of mentality is not just for retail, it is for Classic as well. But these are the people that you hear on the forums, in-game and stuff, where it's like, oh my god, this is so bad, this is awful. And it's like, well, I've personally been doing mythics. Me personally, I've not been doing much PvP lately just because time or people might not be up for it, stuff like that. So I personally have just been doing a few mythics with some friends. And I get that doing mythics with friends is completely different. But I have not had a problem with them at all. We've been doing... I'm very fresh to mythics again this season. I did it back in Shadowlands, and I'm very fresh to them again, but managed to get 2.5 rating quite easily. Most things are 10 plus rating. It's quite simple. Simply put, if you fail a dungeon, it's either yes, you guys messed up somewhere, or you simply aren't good enough to do the dungeon. That is as simple as it is. Now, the mess up might just be, oh, you didn't interrupt something, or you might have pulled too big, or, that sort of thing. In which case, you just correct it. You learn and you correct it. But this whole, all right, we're not timing it, I'm leaving. What kind of pathetic excuse is that? It's absolute nonsense. And this sort of mentality needs to be kicked out of the game. And I'm actually glad that people are doing it, or Blizzard are. So, if you now leave Mythic Plus dungeons, you can be banned for doing so, because it is a offence to do so against TOS now. It's not friendly to the other players and stuff, so you can get banned. I believe that is an implementation that they've made within the past month or so, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that this is really good. I think this will cut down on people leaving the Mythic Plus, and I think that I haven't seen people leaving Mythic Plus due to this change, which is really, really good. Again, I'm playing with like friends, so I have one or two pugs, so it's not as big of a pool information wise as I can give you, but I know that people have not left a single one of my Mythic Pluses without finishing the dungeon first. So hopefully that's helped. Hopefully it is helping. But yeah, the mentality like this needs to stop. And I see it everywhere, not just in Classic or retail. You see it in Cataclysm Classic. You see it in Season of Discovery, Classic Era, stuff like that. So you see it all over the place, but it is just pathetic, really. Now, the next one I want to go over because this one's actually quite an informative post. So, 3 least played classes and why. So, think about it right now. If you were to log on and be like, yeah, I don't really see much of that class, what classes would you think? To me, I would say that's Demon Hunter, unless they are meta in PvP. I wouldn't see any. That would also be probably Rogue. I don't see a lot of Rogues. And Evokers. I would say Evokers. Monks are also up there. So, this person simply puts, these are in order from the most to least, the 3 least played classes in World of Warcraft retail. So he thinks the least played class in retail is Warlock. Okay? Now, the reasons that he has for this are as follows. Warlock, a pure DPS. Wow. A pure DPS being this low is surprising. The biggest crime, I think, for Warlocks is simply how its class fantasy has been completely robbed with the removal of Life Tap and giving Shadow Priest the Kiss the Sin theme. No idea what that is. So you're supposed to be this Dark Caster, but only example of you using your health as a resource is to press Burning Rush, which is probably the least fun button to press ever. So you don't have your class identity, so you're just a slow mage with not a very fun / unique ability to press. The thing that the desire for the Dark Caster typically has high popularity. Necromancer in Diablo and ESO, Black Mage and Reaper in Final Fantasy XIV. But I guess it isn't here. Okay. Firstly, Warlocks aren't slow. They do have their port. They do have their gateway. Okay. You do have means of mobility. Secondly, class fantasy. Are you kidding me? Have you seen Demo Warlock? You are summoning an army of demons. An army of them. That's not even being like... What's the word? I've forgotten the word. But that's not even being like exaggerating. Exaggerating? Yeah. That wasn't a real sentence. But it isn't exaggerating the point. You are literally summoning an army of demons. You're summoning about 10 to 15 imps at a time. Multiple Fel Guards. You also have all of the hero talents now where you're summoning Dreadlords and the Chavaras, stuff like that. So you're literally summoning a horde of demons. As for Destruction Warlock, you are hitting things with a big bolt. And you get stuff that's called Ruin. Your spells are based around your fire spells. And it's really cool. It is a Dark Caster because, well, essentially you're using dark elements. You're using chaos magic. You aren't using shadow or anything like that. You are using chaos magic. For Affliction, you are obviously using all of your dots, which is shadow, and you are rotting them down. And this rot comes from all of the dots. So Curse of Agony, Corruption, what are the others? Unstable Affliction, Haunt, etc. These are class identities, and they have three different class identities. You have the Pet class in Demolock, you have the Burst class in the Destro, and you have the Rotting class, which is the Affliction spec. So they are and do have class identities. It's just you want to life tap. Life tap isn't a fun ability. It really isn't. Life tap was a necessity because mana was needed back in Classic. Mana is no longer needed in retail unless you are spamming fear, which I actually have had happened to me before. In an arena, I was spamming fear so much that I actually went which is quite intriguing. But Thing is, you don't need life tap because you don't use mana as a resource as much anymore, nowhere near as much. And let's face it, yeah, like I said, life tap is just not as fun to press. It's probably the same amount of fun as pressing like Burning Rush. You press it and your health goes down. How is that fun? And then what? You've got a life tap like to get more mana back, and then you bandage. Sit there and bandage for 8 seconds. Yeah, what class fantasy that is? It's absolute nonsense. Just because you don't like the way that your class is doesn't mean that it is bad. Okay? And in my opinion, I see loads of warlocks. I don't think that they are the least played class in World of Warcraft. I see loads of warlocks. You know, it's one of them things. The second one, monk. The very Pandaren focus, I feel like, hurts the class. Complex rotations where other classes can just press Sinister Strike 5 times, but in defense of monks, the monk archetype is always the least played class in every game. People just don't resonate to unarmed kung fu combat. I can understand the unarmed kung fu combat, I get it. As for, complex rotations, it's not that bad. You can pick it up quite easily. I would say that monk's in a fair spot and being one of the lower paid classes. Mainly because Brewmaster I don't see a lot of. I see decent amounts of Windwalker and some Mistweaver, but yeah, I can see Monk being up there. As for pressing Sinister Strike 5 times, yeah, that's Outlaw Rogue. Happens, it is one of them things. The third one is Evoker. Evoker has a couple of things working against it from being the newest class. Having just a mid-class fantasy that ruined just by outright terrible gameplay, devastation just spamming a laser beam. Yes, I do agree with that. Augmentation not feeling draconic at all. And all the while this doesn't bother me, the lack of transmog is the worst thing in the universe. Son. Yeah, I can understand all of them points. The devastation is a problem. The devastation spam, big problem. That needs to be worked on. No class should just be based around one spell. And I know that you're going to say, oh no, but they use Living Flame and, Deep Breath and stuff. No, they are devastation spam bots, okay? That is all that there is. And that is about 50 to 60% of their damage and all their pressing. The other 20% is Eternity Surge. And guess what? Eternity Surge procs from your devastation. So, it is what it is. They need a rework in terms of their damage rotation. I like the idea of the fantasy. I really do. The gameplay lets it down, in my honest opinion. I think Prez Evokers are very well balanced and are very good. But yeah, the 2 DPS specs, not great at all, in my honest opinion. Evoker, I don't see a lot of. All I see is Prez and Devo. Augmentation seems to be a thing of the past. Even though they do exist still, somewhere in the mythics, in arenas they are non-existent. But, it is what it is. I would say that Evoker being third is probably correct. I would say that Demon Hunters need to be on this list, though, instead of Warlocks. I don't think many people resonate with Demon Hunters as well as they do with Warlock, because I think people see Warlock and they're like, oh my god, yeah, that sounds like a really cool class. Demon Hunter, meh, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion, in all honesty, and it could be wrong. It very much could be, but Warlock I don't think should be there. Demon Hunter in my opinion, but again, that's very subject to opinion. I would need to find these stats on this completely, but Monk and Evoker I do agree with. I really do agree with. Now, moving on to some stupid posts, okay? These stupid posts come from Classic. Now, I say stupid posts. These are people being stupid. Where is the dungeon finder you speak of? So, where is this dungeon finder quality of life improvement right out of the gate that you said was there? I'm level 20 and still nothing. I have to use an add-on for the bulletin board, yet Blizzard says there is a dungeon finder tool. Okay. Now, this isn't the Wrath of the Lich King dungeon finder tool. This is very much a classic dungeon finder tool, pretty much like the bulletin board, but this guy does not see it on his minimap. If you look at your minimap in Classic WoW, at around level 15 or so, you will get an eyeball. This eyeball will allow you to sign yourself up for dungeons and be put into a sort of listing. You're listing yourself for this dungeon. People can message you. You can message other people who are looking for this dungeon. That is what this does. This guy has simply not seen it and is complaining that it's not there when it clearly is, and it has been implemented since day one. So please open your eyes before you post on the forums, because it is definitely very much there. The comments of this are just ridiculing the guy and saying you should open your eyes. You know, fair enough. Now, this one I find amazing. So you remember back in Classic when people would kite certain mobs? Some people on Horde side would kite Chandris from Feathermoon Stronghold, or this was in Cataclysm. They would kite Chandris to Orgrimmar, and she would kill everyone. Some people would kite Teramus, the Devourer, from the Blasted Lands to Stormwind. Again, quite good, quite fun, and quite a shit show sometimes. Now, this was what kind of made Classic quite enjoyable for me. You just see a random sort of boss-ish kind of thing turn up in Stormwind or a major city, but this guy doesn't seem to like it. Druids keep kiting high mobs to Orgrimmar. Not banned? On layer 1 of Nightslayer, some druid keeps bringing a green dragon to Orgrimmar and griefing everyone. How is this guy not banned? He did this on Whitemane too. Blizzard fix this. Okay. Firstly, this is Classic. Okay? This is Classic World of Warcraft. You can kite mobs and across an entire continent. Okay? The way that you do it is you simply keep hitting the target every now and again. Very, very simple. Now, this isn't against hardcore TOS. Okay? Or Classic servers for that matter. It isn't against any TOS, and this is Classic mechanics. This is what you guys want. You guys want Classic experience? This is the Classic experience, okay? Now, people are not going to get banned for this. You simply have to accept that this will happen. People will be able to kite maybe Kazakh, okay, to cities. It's that simple. It has been done in the past. Kazakh has been kited to Stormwind and simply not been able to be killed. So they've had to reset and hotfix the server. They've just reset the server. So this is going to happen. And this is what Classic is. Okay, this is what Classic was. You get over it and you deal with it. Okay? You cannot complain like this on the forums because it is what it is. I'm sorry, but that is what it is. So, the last one that I wanted to address is Anniversary Graveyard. I wanted to put this here so that people can think about it before we head off into the Anniversary realm that will head into TBC. I've joined an Alliance Guild on Dreamscythe with an 04 Wowheads for the new perspective on WoW. After talking to some, I realised people just want to biss out their Classic characters and just want an ability to log in and look at their characters on the screen that will never change. TBC should be nice, but really all my friends just want to be able to log in and see the vanilla WoW character. I hope this Anniversary realm turns the tides of era and people can find new homes on Dreamscythe and the PvP realm Nightslayer. I know what you WoW devs I know you WoW devs just wanted to put that out there. Okay, I didn't read that wrong. It is just how he put it. Okay. So this guy's problem is that the Anniversary servers will go into TBC, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So there's this thing. Now, I'm not sure if you heard of it. Called Classic Era. Okay? Now, hear me out on this. But Classic Era doesn't move on to TBC. Yeah? So wouldn't it be smarter to make Classic characters on these Classic Era servers? Because that way your Classic Era server characters will not be moving to another expansion and you can keep them forever and look at them just in their Classic gear. Wouldn't that make more sense? Isn't that the smart thing to do? No, it isn't the smart thing to do, apparently. It's because everyone wants to hop on these Anniversary realms because, again, It's very much, oh, nostalgia, everyone logging in at the same time. You know, I've got to get on the hype train and stuff. Just go on Classic Era. If you want to look at the characters, the classic characters, fully bissed out, fully like best in slot, then you want Classic Era, because that will not move on to TBC and stuff. But again, once you go on to Classic Era and get your BIS gear and then log out of that character, are you going to log back in? Are you? Why are you going to log back in? Because you're not going to get any gear from raiding, and the only point to doing raids is gear, unless you actually have fun with your guild, which in Kata I do, but some people don't. I didn't enjoy raiding with my guild in Classic, so it is one of them things. Yeah, it very much depends, but this is just stupid. Go and play Classic Era. It's absolutely stupid. Alright, I do have to end it there, but thank you all very much for watching. Do check out all of the socials down below, constant stuff happening over there. But thank you all very much once again, and go a Valor friend. Goodbye all.